impact on the Mariners supporters. Blows his whistle. George Moncur steps up and scores! Bottom corner of the net. The goalkeeper was very close, and it's John. He lets in a low cross, and a spin turn in, and Leyton Orient are back on level terms. He'll come to James. He shoots. Oh, and a goal from Tom James. That was a volley, and that was. It's a low cross. It's an inviting cross, and it's been turned in by Theo Archibald, and he celebrates in front of the travelling faithful.
Live this afternoon on Glory, Young Place, content, and belter here in E10, and I'm delighted to be joined by Director of Football Marketing, pundit Andrew Clark. And there is Stan, looking absolutely beautiful this afternoon. And Martin, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I mean, let's start with the season, I guess. It couldn't have gone off to a much better start.
No, it's been an excellent start. You know, you can't ask for much better. 4 wins, 1 draw, you know, from the games. Each game's had its difficulties as well, and I don't think that we've performed at fully 100% at the moment. And I think if you ask Richard the same question, he would say that, which is a good sign for me. If we're winning games at 75, 80, 85%, it shows good signs going forward. But we're not the finished article as yet, and time will tell whether we are the finished article when the season really starts to take shape.
And today's got to be another test, and I suppose maybe a different one. If we're looking at form, it's an easy one on paper for the O's, but it's early doors in the season still, and I suppose this is a real test of how we'll mix it up with some of the teams lower down in the table.
Yeah, I can't believe 6 games into the season, Ollie, and you're already using the word easy, because there is not an easy game here. But you know, on paper, it should be a game that we'll be looking to get 3 points from for sure, because Hartlepool have been in really torrid form to start the season. However, you know, sometimes teams just take a while to click as well. To be fair, there's nothing that suggests that Hartlepool are looking to click. I've seen what their fans have been saying. Some of their pundits have been talking about Hartlepool, and they kind of look like a team that's just a little bit lost to start the season off in such a manner. However, Richie's warned about complacency going through this week, and it has to be key today. We cannot be complacent. We have to go out there believing that yes, we are the better team, because we are. We certainly are, and we've shown that this season. But we just have to get the job done.
We certainly do. And if we're talking about clicking, the O's have certainly done that so far this season. I'm sure consistency is a reason for that, and the O's are unchanged. This afternoon, as Richie Wellings the same 11 that won 3-1 at Colchester. And let's remind ourselves of that starting line for this afternoon's fixture. So in goal for the O's, number 22, Lawrence Vigouroux. In at right back, number 2, Tom James. Continuing that run at centre back, number 5, Dan Happe. Number 7, Paul Smith is in that attacking role. Number 11, Theo Archibald joins him. And that midfield 3 again, and number 14, George Moncur. Number 15, Idris El Mazouli. Number 18, and the captain, Darren Pratley. Partner Dan Happe at the back, number 19, leading the line this afternoon, number 23, Charlie Kelman. And in at the back, number 32, Rob. And there's just the one change on the bench this afternoon, as Craig Laken's in for Zek Bobiero, and Sam Sargent is also on the bench alongside Shadoji, Adam Thompson, Harry Schwarzer, Rosa Tillman, and Jordan. So just the one change to the squad this afternoon. And does that surprise you at all, Andrew? I won't ask Martin. Does that surprise you, Andrew?
No, nothing there really surprises me though. I think consistency is certainly going to be the key. Why would you want to change a winning formula? I think Saturday's game against Colchester was kind of one of the more accomplished performances this season. Obviously, we won't need to go into the ins and outs of every game so far this season, but there's definitely been wins where, I'm thinking about Mansfield, where we really toiled. We managed to come away with all 3 points. Saturday against Colchester was just a much better performance. Knew we were going to be the better team, were on the pitch, obviously conceded 1 goal right at the end of the game, but otherwise it was a very good away performance. So a whole week to train, don't change the winning formula, make one change on the bench, and that's about it. So I think it's probably more about consistency as well as just getting used to playing with each other as well, because Charlie Kelman's a new face in, El Mazzouni's a new face in, but they've both hit the ground running very, very well.
And if we're talking about consistency, Martin, it's that midfield three that's started a few games in a row now. Idris El Mazzouni, George Moncur and Darren Pratley. I'm guessing that three is something that you and Richie spoke quite a lot about throughout pre-season in the bid to get right. And how are you feeling about that now?
Yeah, it was always the area from when Richie first came in the squad where we felt needed the most adjustment and needed the most new players, and still possibly needs one more player to go in there before the deadline closes on Thursday. But as a three, they've been excellent. One thing I look as a director of football is if I look at the bench, I think most of them players were starters last year. A lot of them subs were starters last year, and I look at our squad and yeah, I'm really, really comfortable. Defensively, goalkeepers, forwards, maybe one more midfield player, and that comes down to having options. We've got to remember Darren Pratley's 37 and possibly can't play Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. Like when we played the Swindon game, it was a toss-up where we was going to play 60 and come off, or play 30 and come on. So we've got to cover that base as well, because that he is 37 and we've got to be careful. And we want him to be playing his optimum. And if we want him playing his optimum, we need to rest him up as well. So yeah, that's the one area. If I'm being really, really fine-tuning, I think that's the one area where we can possibly make one more signing.
I mean, making one more signing. The last player we signed was Idris El Mazzouni. They say not to fall in love with a young player, but I think he's won the hearts of the O's fans already. What have you made of his start in an Orient shirt?
Yeah, I think he's been excellent. He was on our list for a long time. I spoke to someone I know really well at Ipswich, Brian Klug, who's head of their academy, who's had him since he was 15, and talked to me, because a lot of it is about checking what their character's like, what they are like as a person and a player, and everything that Brian told me about him so far has been true, and it's been good.
And he's clicked alongside George Moncur. I feel like we're speaking about him every week since he's joined the club, and maybe we're starting to see the best of him.
Yeah, I mean, well, I still think 5 games into the season, this being our 6th, it's still too early to say. I mean, I think when we think back to last season, we had a very, very good start to the campaign, then it kind of fell away a little bit, and I think you kind of have to judge things after maybe 20 games, which I know sounds ridiculous because it's halfway through the season, but you can't just get carried away. You can't be judging people just on the minutes they've had. We've had 450 minutes this season, which is still far too early to say. So it's good early signs definitely, but it's there's still so much longer to be going on this season.
It certainly is, but in terms of good signs defensively, it must be really pleasing and promising for you, Martin. I think 2 goals conceded all season. We've looked solid defensively, and that must be a great thing for the director football to build on and build hope off of as well. Yeah,
I think we've got the best goalkeeper in the bottom 2 leagues, and that's just something that I firmly believe, and I've worked with him previously at Swindon, and also seen him work here. Along with that, the back 4, you've got settled players, and you've got good players that can't get in your team, so that's always a good sign. But any team that's going to win anything, it's going to be on a solid defence and with flair up front. I mean, you talk about George Moncur. I think the one small criticism is a better goal return. He's had a lot of chances, George, and George, I'm not talking because George already knows that. He knows that he can get goals in this league, and one thing we didn't have last year is goals from midfield. I mean, this year we've got 3 already. George has got 1, and Tom James has got 2 when he played in there. So that was something that we needed to rectify, and we feel like we've rectified a lot of the things that we feel that can give us a successful season. I'm more like a 15-game man. I think the 15 games starts to take shape. Maybe that's because it's a third of the way through the season, you've got 2/3 to go. But after 15 games, I think that's the first time you should look at the league table after 15 games. I'm not complaining about being top, but that's the first time I think it has real relevance to where the season's going.
And just picking up on what you said about maybe from last season improving, and if you look at our centre-back pairing, it looks very settled with Omar Beckles and Dan Happe in there. And just picking out Dan Happe there, obviously he's been here in your whole period as director of football, and how good it see him now really entering what is hopefully going to be the prime of his career?
I'm really pleased for Dan, because I was telling Rich in the summer about two players that he hadn't seen, which was Dan Happe and Craig Clay through injury, and I said they'd be like signing two new players for you, Rich. You know, we kept Theo Archibald, I think was big. You know, we kept Adam Thompson, who is massive for us. You know, in the dressing room and how he organises. And you watch Richie, the person that when Adam goes on the pitch and towards the end of the game, one person that Richie's always giving information to is Adam, because he understands it the most to pass it on. So people have got to see all these nuances. And when we signed Adam, people saying, "Oh, why?" He is a great pro, and he's a good example to the young players as well.
With Dan Happe, I mean, he's got this incredible record already this season. I get too early in the season to say, but the only game that he didn't feature in was the game against Swindon, which is the only game that we haven't won. So he's got this incredible record of 4 games and 4 wins so far this campaign. There was something about him coming back in this season where, you know, I know that we've had him from such a young age, but he looks a little bit bigger. It almost looks like, you know, when you go away, like when you're in school and someone comes back in and he's taller over the summer. There's something about him coming back into this team that he's grown into his body. He looks that more physically intimidating, but he's also got a hell of a lot of games under his belt now, which means that you can trust him as being a pro, despite the fact that he is in his early 20s.
Yeah, I think that it's weird how you see, because I've known Dan since he was so young, but I see a man before me now instead of a young boy, and it's hard to do that when you've seen him come through. And another one like that is Jaden Sweeney, actually, who's done really well and sometimes you just get that. And I think someone who's built like Dan, they develop later. Centre halves always develop later, and with all the games he's had, he's made these mistakes in and around our first team, which is what he should be doing. But now you would hope that mistakes are a lot less. And what Dan gives you is his ability on the ball. He's got a lovely left foot. The diagonal ball out to Theo Archibald is something that he's got, and he can do it with his eyes shut, if I'm totally honest. So yeah, I do think it's a big season for Dan. You know, there was big hopes for him, big talk about him going elsewhere. There was a lot of clubs interested in him, and he had a real bad injury. And I just wanted to see, you know, the best thing I've seen about Dan Happe this pre-season and this season, he got a black eye over at Potter's Bar. Dan went in for an headed the back of the other. That's the first time I've seen Dan Happe with a black eye or a cut. So he's a little bit more aggressive. He didn't. I looked at him, I said, that's made you not as good looking as you used to be, but for us it was a good sign.
About 6 months ago, I was compared to Dan Happe. Someone thought I was him in the Leyton Star, and the guy was miles off it, obviously. But
no, I think I might have thought that Dan Happe was ugly then.
And let's give the forward some loving as well, Andrew. Charlie Coleman getting back amongst the goals on Saturday, picking up his second. Theo Archibald getting off the mark as well. It's good. We've said we want to see the forwards all getting off the mark. Paul Smith's getting assisting own goals as well. We want to see more of that today.
Yeah, for sure. I think 7 of the 10 outfield players we've got available that are playing today have all either scored or assisted so far this season. So that's a really positive sign. Only 5 games into the season. So the fact that we have got goals and contributions coming all over, like from all over the pitch, is a really positive sign, because it was really nice to see last Saturday at Colchester the fact that we know that these players and what they're capable of, but I think sometimes you can see when teams are caught by surprise by the fact of Paul Smith's pace or how good technically Theo is, and then when you blow away teams like we did on Saturday, it's such a it's a real thrill to be watching, but it's also very satisfying to be kind of part of that team, I'm sure, because we know what they're capable of. The fact that it's just these little things that you want to tick off a list, like getting off the mark with a goal or an assist, and they've pretty much all done that now, so it's great.
Certainly have. Now, of course, don't forget, if you're watching it live on our YouTube stream, this game's available to stream for international fans and for UK fans. And of course, you can go to our website. Now, but first it's time to hear the pre-match thoughts of the manager.
There's one of them games where you look, it's top v bottom. I know it's very early on, but we can't go into that frame of mind. We need to make sure that we continue to do what we've been doing really well, which is the basics. And they've stood us in good stead in the games. And then when we've been playing well in the games, we've took our chances when they come along. So we just need to go into the frame of mind that it's so early on. You know, I've watched Hartlepool against Bradford. I watched them against Northampton, and they played some good football. So they've probably got a new manager and a lot of new players, and they've probably not found their rhythm yet. So we know that any time that can change. So listen, we're at home, it's down to us. We want to take the game to them and want to score goals. So as long as we go into it with the right mentality and we don't take things for granted, then we'll be okay.
As you mentioned, Hartlepool not the best start. So in terms of communicating to your players, what's the kind of the message that you send in terms of their approach?
It doesn't matter. If we do the basics well, then we're a good team. At any level of football, you can concede a first set play in the first minute. You can concede from any kind of set play. You can concede from a counter attack. So every team in this league come with their own threats. So we need to make sure that complacency is not one of them. But again, it's something that I trust the group with. I think we've got good leaders in the group, good professionals who have played a lot of games. So I don't think it'll be a danger for us.
In terms of Hartlepool then, you mentioned all teams having threats. Where do you see them being able to hurt us?
Well, I think, again, it's difficult because they're a new team and the manager's trying to find out what works for them and what doesn't. So it can be difficult. I've been in that position when you take over a club and there's a lot of change in the club. You look at Hasty on the right, likes cutting his left foot, looks a good player. But I want to try and make it about us. If we're on the front foot, if we're aggressive, when we're moving the ball really well at times, then it's got to be that little change of speed. And when we go slow to quick, we need to make sure that when we do turn them quick spells, we look after the ball and we get the ball in the right areas. I.e. Paul Smith's cross to when Colchester scored the own goal. That's a really good example of it, where we switch to play 4 or 5 times, it's not on, and then we find a pocket to get smudged on the ball, and obviously his sharpness gets up the pitch and we score goals. So that's what we need to be careful. We need to be patient, but we're not
little my fans slap me.
Oh, we're back live. Apologies, we've got some technical issues going on at the moment. Sorry if you haven't been able to hear us so far. Hopefully you picked up enough of what Andrew and Martin were saying. That was the really important stuff. But now let's take a look at the visiting lineup for this afternoon's fixtures. Hartlepool United travelling to E10. So in goal for Hartlepool, number 1, Ben Killip. Number 2, Jamie Sterry. Number 3, David Ferguson. Number 5, Ewan Murray. Number 6, Mark Shelton. Number 7, Jake Hasty. The captain, number 8, Nicky Featherstone. Number 9, Josh Umara. Number 11, Wesley McDonald. Number 18, Mikhail Njoli. And number 24, Alex Lacey. And on the bench, Kyle Leatheran, Mohamed Niang, Brodie Paterson, Jack Hamilton, Tom Crawford, Roland Meniezi and Regan Tumility. And so there is the visiting lineup for this afternoon. And Andrew, we've touched on it a little bit, but not a fantastic form side coming to E10, but the O's have to remain on their game nonetheless.
Yeah, we have to be confident, obviously, about beating them, but they have had a real torrid time to start this season. It's been, we're going to show some goals that they've conceded so far in this campaign, and you have to say it's like pretty much all defensive errors. Like, there's been a couple that have been, well-worked goals, but that's exactly where we have to be getting them today. It's just on the front foot in attack, making sure that we're playing to obviously the best of our ability, but we should, on paper, we should have enough to really go at them and get a couple of goals under our belt. Obviously, we've kept 3 clean sheets so far this season. So in defence, hopefully we're going to be able to just keep that clean sheet, because there's goals in this for us today. So if I was an attacking player in this lineup, I'd be licking my lips, because we'll see the goals that Hartlepool have conceded so far this season. And some of them genuinely have been embarrassing. So it's going to be hopefully a good time for us to get a couple of goals under our belt.
Hopefully. So Martin, just quickly, so obviously Hartlepool come up last season, they've lost their manager last season as well. Slightly different look squad this season, but what do you and the team expect from them this afternoon?
Yeah, I was in the boardroom and I was speaking to their directors, and I think one of them was the chairman. He's saying they've had 13 new signings, so the gelling of the team has not happened as yet. Richie talked a lot yesterday in the presentation to the players about the first half hour. He wants really us to go at them and really ask big questions of them in the first half hour. The one thing, they're going to be dogged, they're going to sit in, and they're probably going to defend deep. But when I look at our unit of a front 3 and Moncur behind, and the 2 fullbacks joining as well, I feel that we can open teams up this year. That's how it feels that they're sitting here at this moment in time. So, but what we've got to understand is that this league is a slog. You know, you've got 46 games, and you're going to get games where you talked about the Mansfield game. We could have been 3-0 down against Mansfield at half time. It wasn't for Lawrence Figaro, and then we go and win the game, and everything's forgot about. But another thing I've been really impressed with what Richie's been showing the players is things that have not happening quite right. It's easy to win games to show the players what they've done right. I think you've got to do that as well. But he's very keen on showing them what wasn't quite done right and what can be done better. And I think that's where he's still searching for that complete performance in a 90-minute game. Colchester last week, I was sitting in New York watching it actually. I was over in New York and I felt really comfortable. Whenever I was watching it, I always felt that we would be the ones that could go on. First 10 minutes, it was a little bit to and fro, but what you got to do is someone who's sinking, you've got to push it down a little bit harder and make sure that they sink fully, and that's what Hartlepool will be like today.
And when you talk about that, what you expect that nature of the game will be, do you think that will be maybe one of even potentially the toughest sets we've faced so far this season, where they have got that nature about them, where they're fighting or having to maybe fight a little bit harder to pick up their first win? Are you expecting a tougher test?
Look, I'll go into any League 2 game knowing that you've got to win the game on that day. Don't matter where they are in the league or where we are in the league, you've got to go out and on the day and over that 90 minutes and win the game of football. And nothing changes. It's about imposing yourself against your fellow player and showing what you're about. And that's what we've got to do. If we go out there with an atmosphere where we think we're just going to coast through it and we're going to win the game, I know Richie won't let that happen, but if we did go out with that attitude, then we can struggle.
Well, hopefully we won't. Hopefully it's going to be all sunshine and rainbows here in E10. But we're going to let Martin go and get up to his seat now so he can watch the game in peace. But now let's hear from Orient centre-back Dan Happe.
It's been a positive start to the season. How have you found it so far?
Yeah, it's been a great start. Very positive. You know, we've been looking good. Looking forward to Saturday. And hopefully get the 3 points.
So for yourself as well, we were speaking in the summer on the road back from injury, and you were talking about forcing your way into this team, and you've done that so far. So, firstly, from an injury point of view, how are you feeling, fitness-wise and sharpness?
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while to get to 100% back to fitness, but I'm slowly getting there. Feeling stronger every day, feeling stronger every game. So, yeah, I'll say I'm basically back to full fitness. I'd say.
Performances as well throughout the season seem to be getting a little bit better each week. Would you agree with that?
Yes, definitely. At the start, I'd say there was a bit shaky, but as the weeks have gone on, we've had a better understanding of what we want from the gaffer. So yeah, as you said, as the weeks go by, we're just getting stronger and stronger.
From a defensive point of view as well, it must feel good to know that at the top end of the pitch, you've got some brilliant attackers.
Yeah, definitely. You know, if us back four are doing our job well and Loz is making saves, we can rely on the front boys to score goals and win us games.
And as a back four, how are you feeling?
Very strong. You know, we've got a great back four unit. Even people like sitting on the bench at the minute, we've got a great depth in our squad to come in and roll out. You know, it's a good team. Probably the best team I've had since I've been at the club.
And so Hartlepool United this weekend, and they might not have had the best start, but from our point of view, it's important not to take our foot off the gas.
Yeah, definitely. You know, as can't take no team for granted. Every team in this league's going to be a tough game. They ain't won a game, but that doesn't matter. You know, I'm sure they'll come with a good following, and it'll be a tough game, and we've just got to be ready for that.
Just finally, Dan, we've seen some great support home and away this season. So how important is that to you and the players?
Yes, very important. They've been like a 12th man to us every game, and hopefully we can keep giving them performances they can be proud of, and for them to just keep following us.
Well, hopefully Dan can continue his perfect start to the season, and he is of course partnering Omar Beckles at the back this afternoon. So let's remind ourselves of the starting lineup for the O's this afternoon. So in goal for Leyton Orient, number 22 Lawrence Figaro. In at right back, number 2 Tom James, the main man. Number 5 Dan Happe, number 7 Paul Smith, 11 Theo Archibald. That midfield three of number 14 George Moncur, 15 Idris El Mizouni, and the captain number 18 Darren Pratley. Number 19 Omar Beckles, number 23 Charlie Kelman leads the line, and number 32 Rob Hunt slots in at left back. And on the subs bench, Sam Sargent, Shadrach Oji, Adam Thompson, Craig Clay, Harry Smith, Ruel Sotiriou, and Jordan Brown. And don't forget, kick-off is just over 5 minutes away, and these boys will hopefully be looking to pick up another 3 points here, and the pitch is looking beautiful in E10. So make sure you head over to the Orient website now to pick up your match pass or your audio pass for UK fans. And Andrew, as we're approaching the game,
what Martin says fills you with hope, and he says exactly what we've been saying for weeks, and what the players have been saying as well. It's not perfect, but we're winning. So hopefully, when we can really fully click, we'll be so dangerous.
Well, I think back to kind of the performances we put in against Hartlepool last season, right? When we beat them 5-0 here last season, which was a real one of the high points of the season. Like thrashing a team 5-0 is always going to be a high point. But then when the season went on, and we went into that real dip in form, it was actually that 0-0 against Hartlepool away that started to turn the season back towards it in our favour. It was one of Richie's first games with us, and it was a funny old season, wasn't it? But we have to take the confidence of beating that team 5-0 from last season onto this one. The fact that they've conceded the most shots in the league, Ben Killip, their goalkeeper, has had to make the most saves. They've also conceded the most. It means that their defence has got to be, they've got to be getting at their defence. They've got Njoli back, and they've got Ewan Murray back for I believe the first time this season. Ewan Murray's a big player for them in defence. Some of the goals, like I said, have been embarrassing. They've kind of given up in defence, or they've just been bopping around the box, and someone's gone in and scored against them. Hopefully we'll get some fortune like that, but hopefully we also don't need it. Hopefully we can just blow them away, score a couple of goals early doors, and really give, it's another, I say it all the time, it's another glorious day at Brisbane Road here, Ollie, and you just want to give the fans something to cheer about and go away happy with.
Let's move on from the weather, but looking again at Hartlepool's defence, when you've got our attacking four even, especially when you include Moncur in that, when they're looking at a defence who maybe do look a bit on the ropes, how excited are you? We're licking our lips, surely they are as well.
Yeah, 100%. I'm sure there'll be, a couple of players that will be looking at their defence, looking at the players that they'll be marking or supposed to be being marked by, who will be thinking, I'm going to get the better of them. I remember, we speak to players all the time, and actually those things happen in the first 10 minutes of games. I remember when James Brophy was here, he would say, if I could take on my man within the first 5 minutes, I'd know that I'd have them on toast for the rest of the game. If that didn't happen with someone like James Brophy, occasionally you then kind of start to go back towards back into left back position or left midfield, and wouldn't really get into the game that often. So we've got players who are similar to that style of player, and if we can get them on the ropes early doors, then hopefully it will just be a great day.
Now we've got a nugget of knowledge from Brendan Pitcher, and I'm going to hopefully get this right first time. But last week's goal from Noah Childs in the 90th minute that was, I think, the full shot we conceded in 212 minutes while we were in the lead and Dan Happe was playing. How key is that defence today?
Well, exactly. Lawrence Figueroa said it to us on the Orient Live warm-up earlier in the week, which you can listen to on all your podcast platforms. Nice plug there. Their first goal before they go out into any game is to keep a clean sheet, because they know that they'll do the business further up the pitch. Even if we didn't have a defence like we do, which we do, we're a type of team that would be looking at, you want to score 3 goals against us to win a game, and we want to be a team like that. So hopefully we'll just keep a clean sheet, get a couple of goals, go home happy.
And just before we pass over to our commentary team, it is the chance to go 6 games to start the season unbeaten. It could be a massive start to the season. Yeah, it could be a massive start to the season. Let's just say, get the 3 points. To be honest, I don't really care about the performance. I know that it sometimes matters, but getting all 3 points would be fantastic, and we can go home happy. Well, the boys are out on the pitch now, and it's time to hand over to our commentary team of Dave Victor and Matt Hiscock.
And welcome to Brisbane Road, where the sun is shining and Leyton Orient are top of the table and face a Hartlepool side still looking for their first victory under Paul Hartley. It's probably